Have you ever wondered what the early signs and symptoms of knee arthritis are and what knee arthritis actually feels like? Well, if you have, today's video is going to give you the answers. My name is Will Harlow and I'm the Over-Fifties specialist physio here at HT Physio in Farnham. And today we're going to be talking about what knee arthritis actually feels like. Now, before we dive in and go any further, please do me a massive favor and like this video and subscribe to the channel. If you do that, it's super helpful for me and it helps me to reach more people just like you. But let's go on to the topic of today's episode. We're going to be talking about what knee arthritis actually feels like. And I can't actually speak from experience because, to my knowledge, I don't have knee arthritis, but my clients do. And I see people with knee arthritis multiple times every single day. So over the course of the last 5, 6, 7 years that I've been doing this, I have started to pick up some common signs and symptoms for people who might be suffering with early knee arthritis. Now, there are 6 common symptoms that people report, or 6 things they say that make me think, there could be some knee arthritis here. And the first thing to understand is that most people do have some degree of knee arthritis, whether or not they have pain. So arthritis of the knee doesn't always cause pain. So sometimes the symptoms can come about and not actually be a symptom of pain. It can be a different type of symptom. We're going to be talking about what some of those signs are today. But before we go any further, let's just talk about arthritis of the knee. So this is my knee joint model here. And quite simply, when we're talking about knee arthritis, what we're talking about is a loss of cartilage, which is like the lubricating structure that helps us to bend the knee and to move without pain. And it sits underneath the kneecap, so here, on top of the thigh bone here, so the kneecap can slide up and down. And the cartilage also sits in between the main knee joint, okay, between the femur, which is your thigh bone, and the tibia, which is your shin bone. So this mass here will have cartilage above and below it. So when we're talking about arthritis, what we're really talking about is the wearing down of that cartilage, which means that the bones move closer together, which can sometimes lead to friction, sometimes pain, sometimes stiffness, and a load of other symptoms as well. So let's talk about the common signs of knee arthritis and what people report it actually feels like based on my experience. Now, the first thing that people say when they are suffering from knee arthritis is that it's often a pain that starts very, very, very slowly. So we would call this an insidious onset, because you might have woken up one day and thought, got a little niggle in my knee, not really sure what it is. You start to get moving, it goes away, and you never think about it again. Then a few days later, it comes back. And again, it goes away and you don't think about it again. But this keeps happening. And then people start to notice, and they're like, there's something not quite right in my knee. Never mind, it's not that bad. I'll just keep exercising. It doesn't seem to bother me too much. But what can happen over time is that this niggle can become more and more painful, and it can progress to an actual pain. So quite often, this pain that can start very slightly often starts right over the joint. So if you bend your knee and you feel around the joint, I don't know if you can see me here, but if you feel around the lines of the joint, sometimes it's possible to feel a joint line, okay, which means the space where the two bones meet. And that tends to be where the pain starts if the arthritis is in the main compartment. And if the arthritis is in the bit where the kneecap is, it can start around the kneecap. So a slow onset of very slight pain is often the way this starts, but that pain can progress. Now, the second thing that people often report when they're suffering from knee arthritis is an onset of knee stiffness that particularly affects them in the mornings. So people will say, it's not that painful in the mornings, but it is stiff. And that can be another sign for knee arthritis. So if you're struggling in the first couple of minutes just to move that knee, it feels like it doesn't want to bend or straighten very well, but that wears off after 10 or 15 minutes, that can be another sign of knee arthritis. The third term that people use to describe their knee when it's suffering from arthritis is pain in the joint when they weight bear on it. Now, of course, this can be a symptom of a range of different problems, but it tends to be the case with osteoarthritis that if you're weight bearing on the knee, it feels sore, but when you sit down, the pain goes away. So if it's just mild arthritis, that tends to be the case. So many other problems can also cause pain in the knee when you're resting. So unless you have very, very severe arthritis, if you have pain at rest, it's unlikely to be arthritis. Arthritis usually only causes pain when you're weight bearing, when you're moving, when you're standing, walking, running, things like that. And when you sit down, the pain tends to go away. Now, the fourth thing that people report when they're telling me about their arthritis is that they notice they can't bend their knee or straighten their knee nearly as much as they used to. And this can cause problems on stairs. It can cause problems when you're trying to arrange your legs when you're sitting in a comfy position on the sofa. It can cause problems getting in and out of cars. But sometimes it happens at such a small degree that people don't really notice it until we've had a look at them in clinic. So one of the early signs of arthritis is a loss of range of motion. And you can test this by trying to straighten both knees and bend both knees and comparing right to left. So if you have a bit of a suspicion that you've got arthritis in your right knee, what you might notice is you can't get your right knee as flat as your left when you try and straighten them, and you can't bend your right knee almost as much as you can bend your left knee if there's stiffness there. So that can be another sign of arthritis, and that stiffness tends to be present throughout the day, not just in the mornings. Now, the other symptom of knee arthritis that people often report to me is a sensation of clicking, grinding, or popping in their knee. Now, many of us have experienced clicks and pops and even a sensation of grinding within the knee, and more often than not, it's not actually a sign of arthritis. So if you have those loud clicks that come and go when you bend or you squat down, to be honest, quite often it's not arthritis at all. It's usually just pressure around the kneecap and a bit of fluid within the knee joint and an air bubble finding its way out. So nothing to worry about. But if you're noticing that when you bend and straighten your knee, it feels like there's sand in there, or it's grinding, or you get persistent clicking, and sometimes it feels like it clicks and then clunks on movement, that can be more like a sign of knee arthritis. So clicking needs to be taken with a pinch of salt. It doesn't always mean arthritis, but it is one of the things that people often report. Now, one of the things you can do is when you're bending and straightening your knee, if you bend and straighten it slowly with your hand over the kneecap and you feel like it's grinding, or you feel like there's some sand inside there near to the surface, that can often be a sign of arthritis within the patellofemoral joint, which is the joint between the kneecap and the femur. So that's a nice self-test you can do. It's not perfect, but it gives you an idea of where your clicking is coming from. And the final thing that I've got to say for you today about what knee arthritis feels like is it can generally feel like a massive loss of confidence in your knee. People say, do you know what, my knee's not that painful, but I just don't trust it anymore. And that can be a sign that I look for when I'm talking to people about their knees. Perhaps they've been in a situation where their knee's given way, which is a common sign of knee arthritis. And if they have, it leads to a big loss of confidence, and they just don't trust their knee anymore, particularly on things like stairs. So if you're finding that you've lost confidence in your knee, that could be another sign of knee arthritis. Now, with any of these problems, it's a very good idea for most people to go and get an assessment from a doctor or a local physio. So if that's you, I strongly recommend you go and get your knee checked out. But if you're just looking for some tips on trying to improve your mobility and keep the health of your knees in your 50s and beyond, then you can always pick up a copy of my book, Thriving Beyond 50, and it will give you loads of strategies for how to deal with problems like this. Other than that, thank you very much for watching. If you haven't already, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to speaking to you on the next video.